Alright, so let's go ahead and punch holes in two objects here. So I already laid out some examples, and you'll see they look very much the same. So one's on a cylinder, so something that's a bit more complex, and one's just on a plane, which will be the easy way to start. With both of these, though, the shape that I looked for was 4 polygon quads that were sitting next to each other. So I'm going to go and create a polygon plane. Let's create polygon primitives plane. And let's just move this forward. So you can see this is just one single polygon face. And just to run through it again, we have vertexes, those are the dots. We have edges that connect those dots. And then we have faces, which is the face those dots and edges make. So vertices are the dots, we have the edges and the face. I want to add more edges to this, so the easiest way is didn't do anything to this yet. If we already had extrudes and things done or insert edge loops, we can no longer make adjustments over here. But I'm going to change in the channel box the subdivisions of the width and height to 6 and 6. And the reason I did this is it gives me nice even subdivisions. So if you kind of already know you're going to need a certain resolution, it's nice to get those subdivisions right at the beginning because they'll be nice and evenly spaced. And it also gives me some nice kind of buffer of where I'm going to punch this hole, which is in the center. So I'm going to right click and go to face and select the 4 faces in the center. I'm going to shift right click and go down to circularize components. And then all I need to do is hover over the word twist in this menu that popped up, and I'm going to middle mouse. And if you're using your Wacom pad or Wacom pen, just think about what you set up for middle mouse, and I am going to twist this so it kind of straightens out. I'm going to hit Q to exit out of that menu, and I'm just going to hit delete. So that's punching a hole. You can see I did another extrude in, so if you wanted to finish this off, you could double click on one edge that selects the ring, shift right click, go to extrude, hit R to bring up scale and grab that yellow box. Just scale it in a little bit. I like to add kind of a buffer or something that helps me hold the shape of that circle. And then I'm going to hit G to bring up that tool one more time, hit W, and I can just extrude down. So that's punching a hole in a plane, and we don't have to worry about too much getting out of hand when we do that. I can hit the 3 key, and you see it turns, it smooths it out. We're going to talk towards the end about smoothing our shapes. So I hit 1 and it goes back. If you hit 2, it's like a hybrid of hitting 1 and 3 at the same time, so I usually don't do it. I just go between 1 and 3. That helps me look at what my final model is going to look like. Let's go ahead and punch a hole in a cylinder now. So I'm going to create polygon primitives cylinder. And the problem we're going to run into here is holding the shape of the cylinder. I'm going to delete the top and bottom faces, so I'm going to go to my top view, and this is just to make it look similar to the coil part of the bracket that we're going to punch holes in. So I'm just going to go right click face, select them all, delete, and let's go back out to our perspective view. So I need those 4 polygons that sit next to each other. So I'm going to shift right click, insert edge loop. I'm going to go to front view here. Let's actually move this up. So I just went to object mode, shift right click, insert edge loop. I'm going to insert this guy right there. And if I wanted to make sure it's directly in the center, I could click on this poly split ring inside my channel box and change this weight to 0.5. Alright, so now I know that's directly in the center, but usually I'd be lining that up with something in my reference. Now I need those 4 boxes for my that I'm going to use for my extrude, or sorry, for punching a hole. So normally I'd be lining these up with something in my reference, but we'll go ahead and create those 4. And let me show you one of the problems we're going to run into if we look at the top view, I know this doesn't seem like a big deal yet, but let's look at this in vertex mode. These additional verts are going to distort the shape, okay? And if I hit the 3 key here to smooth it out, you can see there's like this kink, right? So I like to, before I add my shapes, always make sure I'm getting the exact shape I need. So I'm going to grab these center verts and just kind of pull them in just a little bit to get that back to a cylinder. Okay, so just know when we start putting in more edges to add complexity, we need to kind of look at what that's going to look like smooth, or as we add more detail, because it's going to average between these. I was getting kind of a kink in there. It was no longer a cylinder. So just kind of think about that as you go. So I'm going to hit the 1 key again and go back and look at this. So I'm going to go to face mode, select these 4 faces. I'm going to shift right click, circularize components. Same thing, just go over twist, middle mouse, and just untwist that. And this time, I'm going to hit Q to exit out of there. I'm just going to shift right click and go to extrude face, hit W, scale that in, so I actually hit R. So again, getting that kind of buffer. Hit G to run it again, W, bring that back in, hit G, R to scale. So this one, it's more of an indent instead of a hole, but it's very similar. I just left it capped at the end. So if I hit 3, you can kind of see the indent there. And the edges look so sharp because of how close those edge loops are together. But you are seeing kind of some puckering and such going on. So you kind of see those bends and things. So let me Z back real quick and show you why that happened. So we'll go back to here because we're still going to see those issues happening here. So it's better to fix it before we move on. So if we look from the top view, let's hit 1, go to vertex. You can see these vertices aren't quite in alignment, so I'm going to grab these and just scale them in Z. And it's now this yellow handle, but if you look in the bottom left corner, remember we have that cheat sheet. So the handle is Z, it's moving this way. And I'm just going to scale those in. And I only want to do that in one axis, so that's why I'm only grabbing the Z and not this center one. So let's go back out here, go to object mode, and hit 3 again. It's looking better. It's still, these edges are close together, so that's why I'm already kind of seeing where that hole will be. I'm more concerned about these little bumps that are past that hole. So let's hit 1. And let's sort of move around. So we can also see that these guys stick straight out and they should be bent in a bit. So I'm going to grab these verts and these verts, making sure nothing else is selected. Hit W. And this is probably best done from the top view. But I'm just going to push those back a little bit until they're following that shape of the cylinder. I'm going to hold down Control and deselect those two. Push these back a little bit till they're following the shape of that cylinder. So now if we come back, let's go to perspective. I'm just hitting spacebar to switch between views. Go to object mode and hit 3. Now you can see those bumps are almost gone. Like we've smoothed them out even better. So we could spend more time doing it, and you guys should. But for just this exercise, I've shown you how to kind of alleviate it, so you could just keep kind of following that. And I'm going to grab those 4 polygons in the center, holding down Shift here. I'm going to hit 1. I'm going to extrude, hit W, go in a little bit. It's kind of a buffer. Hit G, W, bring it in more, G, R, scale it in slightly. Hit 3 to check it out. that's looking pretty good. So I've showed you how to punch a hole and also how to kind of make a recessed object there as well. And we're going to start as we add complexity to always see when we hit the 3 key, that's like a smooth proxy or a sub B proxy. We'll talk about that more as we go on. We always want to see as we add edges what that's going to do to our final shape and clean it up before we move on. Because if we wait till the end to kind of clean up all those errors, it's going to take a lot longer than if we clean it up when we go or as we go.